Video games have the ability to bring people together. In today's time, we need more of that in our hobby. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was a game from my childhood that brought many people from different cultures together. It was lightning in a bottle, and I can't say that there are many franchises that have a common story surrounding them. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater released in 1999, a time where people were more divided than they are today. The internet wasn't in full swing yet, and most people in the States lived among people of their own ethnicity. Certain activities were more common with certain cultures versus others. Skateboarding was not commonly seen where I'm from, and it was not the easiest of sports to get into. Tony Hawk was such a big name at the time that even if you didn't skateboard, you would have heard of his name. Similar to Michael Jordan, Tony Hawk was the face of his respective sport, and putting his name on Neversoft's new skateboarding game only made sense. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was different than most games by nature. One, skateboarding is an extreme sport that is affordable to get into, as you know, we all had that $20 to $30 skateboard that we got from Walmart back in the day, but the difficulty came with getting over the fear of bailing. Just trying to balance on a skateboard is a challenge within itself, let alone moving or performing any tricks. 2, skateboarding and extreme sports in general were all the rage during the Attitude Era. And lastly, video games were becoming more popular than ever before, with them moving from 2D to 3D. We were all given a chance to become skateboarders through Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Not everyone can be a professional basketball player, but most people can pick up a ball and make a bucket. I think the allure of skateboarding drew in all cultures to the game, and the arcade-like experience is what kept us around. Pulling off realistic and not so realistic tricks with simple controls contrasted well with the real-life difficulty of skateboarding. Let's say they made Tony Hawk Pro Skater a simulation rather than an arcade game. I don't think it would have captured as many people as it did. The arcade style was exactly what was needed, as other skateboarding games at the time, even ones designed for the arcade, were quite difficult. Tony Hawk Pro Skater was one of those games that kids to adults could beat while being challenged. In career mode, each stage has a handful of challenges that boil down to collecting something, touching something that activates it or destroys it, or getting a high score. By holding down the X button, you can ollie, which in layman's terms just means you can jump. Once you're in the air, you can do a flip trick by pressing the square button and a direction. Grab tricks are the same, but with the circle button. You can grind by pressing triangle near a ledge, and of course, holding a direction or even how you land on the rail could change how the grind comes out. The game is very basic, but that didn't make it boring. Career also had competition levels where the best 2 out of 3 runs could land you a medal. The levels themselves range from small warehouses to big cities. You could tell that some stages were more about exploring, and for the time, these were very impressive. You can look at Tony Hawk Pro Skater as outdated, but I would actually disagree with this. I feel like the first game is the most unique out of all the games in the series. There are no manuals or reverts in the first game, so if you want to string more than a few tricks together, that requires you to have a lot of knowledge of the stage itself. Special tricks are a must to get the pro score in later stages, and the penalty for repeating tricks was more punishing than in future titles. It may take you a few tries to get gold in competitions, but strategically using gaps and special tricks should land you in first place. It was fun to find the perfect spot to string tricks together, and never forget to go after the floating points. These can drastically increase your total score, a mechanic that was removed in future titles. Sharing my experiences at school with my friends is how we found secrets and better ways to play. And the cool thing was we even got into actually trying to skateboard, as it was recommended by the devs that we should go outside and actually get into the sport itself. We weren't very good at it, but at least we tried. Back then, I remember black children being surprised to see Kareem Campbell in the game. Skateboarding was just not a common thing that we saw in the black community, and having that representation only made people feel more welcome into the sport. Alyssa Streamer did the same thing for young girls that played the game as well. It was actually important for Tony Hawk Pro Skater to represent the culture to its fullest by showing that anyone could get into skating. The music selection also bridged the gap between different cultures. You might associate extreme sports with extreme music like rock and roll. The game opens up with Dead Kennedy's Police Truck, only for the main menu theme to be a hip-hop inspired track. This may not seem important, but by having this hip-hop inspired track, it made people who didn't listen to rock and roll like that feel like they were welcomed. And it had an even cooler effect. Because they felt welcomed, those who didn't listen to rock and roll, it made them want to start listening to rock and roll thanks to the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. The main soundtrack had many different styles of rock, and for someone who only listened to hip hop and R&B at the time, I was put on to music I was unfamiliar with. The PAL version of Pro Skater 1 brought in hip hop and other genres, and this carried over to the sequels. I can't tell you how many people have said that Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack shaped their music taste. Again, this is just another example of bringing people together through skateboarding culture and video games. It's actually pretty sad today that representation might be viewed as DEI or woke, but back then, people had to physically be around each other to really break barriers. We somehow managed to bond over Tony Hawk Pro Skater, even with those limitations. Your race didn't matter, neither did your sex. All that mattered was that you liked Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'm not going to sell you some fantasy as if it was all kumbaya, but it was one of those moments in time where I remember nothing mattered but the love for a common interest. I know this happens all around the world, but I'm speaking more from an American point of view, and in America, sports have been racial as long as I can remember. Other sports games couldn't have done what Tony Hawk did because of the stigma that was already tied to the real life fighting from fans. A snowboarding game could have done it, and I think they finally did a generation later, but it resulting into people coming together in real life to snowboard was never going to happen. See, you kind of need this thing called snow to snowboard, and not everyone lives in a place where they have this weather condition. Skateboarding is possible in most places, and Tony Hawk was responsible for a lot of scraped knees thanks to this game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater means a lot of things to a lot of people. For me, it was one of my favorite games on PlayStation 1, and I stuck by the franchise as I got older, for better and for worse. Pro Skater is what got me into bands like System of a Down and Goldfinger. It also was a common interest between me and kids not from my neck of the woods. After all these years later, we are still bonding over this franchise, and even though the series isn't as big as it once was, new gamers are still being drawn in by those keeping it alive, with the welcoming online community and content creators who still love the classic series. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 will hopefully continue to bring more people together, and maybe the future of the series may be saved. But for now, I wanted to go back and drop some history for you all. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater wasn't just a fun game about skateboarding. It was an icebreaker between people that typically didn't get along. It was so special that the positive vibes went beyond the sticks into real life. Many games have brought people together, but none of them quite like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. A great example of how gaming can bring everyone together. Thanks guys for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little Tony Hawk Pro Skater history lesson and review. I know it's been some years since anyone's ever talked about Tony Hawk Pro Skater on YouTube, am I right? Yeah, I'm just joking. I know people make videos about this game out like every single year. But I just felt like sharing my own experience with the series. Because growing up in the black community, it wasn't too many people skateboarding, and a lot of people got into it thanks to this game, and it's a very important game to a lot of people. By the way, let me know in the comment section your experience with the franchise. Where did you start? Did it inspire you to skateboard? Did you get into certain types of music because of Tony Hawk Pro Skater? Was there a particular skater in the roster that made you feel welcomed? What about the franchise did you like? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if you also played the multiplayer in Tony Hawk Pro Skater as well. I played it a lot with my brother. I didn't cover it in the review because, well, I can't record playing 2-player when I don't have someone else to play with. So I just didn't bring it up that much, but that was something we did a lot. We played horse, graffiti. My favorite was graffiti. I like that mode a lot. We had a good time playing that. So let me know if you guys had good times playing 2-player with your friends or your relatives. Put it in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Stay positive, keep gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless. Peace out. Peace.